Hello and welcome to Girl About Town. I am Amila Skepe and today I am joined by Michelle Brown from Brown's PR right here in Gqeberha, the pioneering public relations, corporate liaison and events manager. You name it, she's been there. Michelle, how are you doing?
I'm doing well. I love that you call me pioneering. In a way that makes me feel old, but who cares?
Listen, tell us a bit about your background and the inspiration behind the establishment of Brown's PR.
My background, Amila, is here in Nelson Mandela Bay. I went to school here, matriculated here, went to Rhodes University and completed first year journalism. But wasn't a fan. And but then, it did teach me how to write press releases, which was a good thing. And then I came back here and I did the 1-year diploma course in public relations, which is what I've always wanted to do. It was a 1-year course in my day. It's now 3 years at the NMU, which was then the PE Technikon.
Yes.
And then started working. And then after a number of years of working, my boss at the time came to me one day and said, I hear people phoning you and asking you advice for venues and for guest speakers and for catering. Why don't you actually do this for yourself?
Yes.
And that got me thinking, and that's how I started 37 years ago.
Wow, that is massive. And tell us about your very first corporate client and how that brand alignment was a significant part of the beginning of something spectacular.
Well, my very first corporate client was Adrian Gardner, who's the chairman of Mantis Group, Mantis Collection. And I knew him from my previous job. And I said to him, I'm going on my own. And would you give me a chance and let me be part of an event, which he did. And it was an event in Plettenberg Bay to launch a horse stud farm that he co-owned. And he said, you can be on my team. And he's still my client 37 years later.
Man.
He's my mentor. He is my very dear friend, but he is still my client, which I think is what PR should be about. The longevity, sustainability of relationships. Yeah.
And with over 30 years of experience, like you mentioned, what are the obstacles that you still find challenging even after so many years?
Well, I hate to say this, but it's 2025, and after so many years, in some boardrooms, I still have to struggle to claim my seat at the table as a woman.
Wow.
And that doesn't sit well with me. And so you'd think that it was 2025 and those days were gone, but they aren't. And so I still have to claim my seat. And there's a wonderful quote from the first African-American congresswoman in the U.S. Her name was Mary Chisholm. And she said, if they don't give you a seat at the table, bring your own folding chair. And I do that. And it is a lesson that I have taught my daughter to be the same and to step up where you feel that you need to be heard and never to be silent on important issues. My daughter is now almost 34, and she lives in Hong Kong, and she works for a very, very large restaurant chain, and that's one of the lessons I hope that I have taught her.
I'm sure she does bring a folding chair wherever she goes.
She does.
What are the positive impacts that you've made through Brown's PR in Gqeberha's various communities?
Well, Amila, I would hope it's the fact that I'm happy to give back. I can't give back in monetary terms. I'm a one-man band as far as my company is concerned. It's just me. But I can always give back in my experience and my network. And so I'm very happy to mentor young people and not so young people, people who feel stuck in their current job and just want some mentorship and kind of guidance, which I'm happy to do, and I do often. And I would hope that it's my 7th year next week that I'm hosting a grade 11 boys workshop. I invite 12 schools. They each send me 10 of their grade 11 boys. So I have 120 boys coming next week, 12 teachers, and I put together a program of speakers to inspire them and motivate them. I love the way I watch them every year. They're from various schools. They network, they meet, they mingle, they form WhatsApp groups. And I obviously ask a lot of my corporates to give gifts for the boys and the teachers, and they have been very generous over the years. So, yeah, I would hope that those are also young men that walk away from that workshop and are inspired. Yeah.
And when you're not consumed by the passion of public relations and events management, what does a day in the life of Michelle look like?
Hectic, but because I'm my own boss, that's one of the joys of being your own boss. So if I want to go and have coffee with a friend after this, I'm not going to, by the way. I don't have to put in leave. I don't have to ask for permission, but then it means I work late into the night to get things done. I work from home. My office is at home, and I have a wonderful husband who I started going out with in grade 11. And I'm only 23 now. But yeah, we will be married next month, 42 years. And I went out with him for like God knows how long at school. So he's my rock. And a day in the life is filled with PR, filled with meetings, and in between trying to put out fires, trying to establish new networks and new connections, trying to source sponsorships. I also teach English to 2 women in Moscow in Russia once a week, which I started doing in lockdown when there were no events anymore.
Yeah.
And my daughter said to me, why don't you teach English online? And that started in 2020. And I still teach these 2 women once a week, both businesswomen. We chat. So that's also part of my week. I'm learning French on Duolingo.
Nice.
Yeah, on Duolingo online on an app. I hope you're all impressed. That I do myself. And so that I have to do a lesson every day, which I try and do. And I read a lot. And I do meet friends for coffee and keep up networks and keep up relationships. PR and life is all about relationships, Amila. And so it's all very well creating or establishing a relationship, but you've actually got to work at maintaining it. And so that's what I do.
Let's talk about Glad Rags. And what is your role in this sustainable fashion project?
My role at the beginning, Denise Root, whose concept and idea this is, approached me to tell me about it, to ask for my advice. And then when I said, this is fantastic, she said, can you help me source designers, fashion designers who will come on board, and personalities in PE who will be prepared to be dressed in what the fashion designer redesigns from the fashion waste, and do a catwalk show at Warmer Park in August. And I'm actually one of those, by the way. And I said to her, can't I be the MC at the fashion show? And she said, no, you have to be one of the models. So I used to model when I was young and very thin, which I'm not anymore. And I said, yeah, sure, okay. So actually there's 6 fashion designers, 6 personalities. The 31st of May is the cutoff for the waste to be dropped off at Warmer Park. So there's still time for people to do that. And then Denise says the designers are going to meet. They're going to see what the waste is, and they're going to be able to choose by color. And then we've all met our designers. They've taken our measurements, and then they will make a fashion garment. And those 6 designers, Denise has then paired them with 6 emerging fashion designers, and they will mentor them through the process.
So the garments are made through waste of fabric.
And people are dropping off amazing stuff at Warmer Park.
Wow.
Amazing stuff. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And lastly, before I let you go, what advice would you give to up-and-coming public relations practitioners that look up to you and the work that you do?
Well, first of all, this is very important to me. You've got to be real. You've got to be authentic. So if you put on a facade or an act, how do I say this nicely? Eventually you will be caught out. And so be you and be real. Be authentic, because that's what people tap into, right? I think also do your homework. If you're going to go for an interview to a company, Google them. Google the person that is interviewing you. There's no excuse anymore. Everyone and everything can be Googled. It's quite frightening, but you can. And so it's all about respecting that company and that person. Google them. Google the company. So when you walk in, you don't walk in cold. I always say armed with some knowledge is armed with some confidence, right? And then respect. My late mom always said, if you want people to respect you, Michelle, you need to be respectful of others. And so I do try and do that. People who show me disrespect, I cannot work with them. And I do walk away. I'm old enough to do that now. And also, I think, Amila, stay true to your principles and your values. I do. And sometimes it's lost me a client, but I sleep at night. And if my values and principles don't align with theirs, I can't do work for them, you know. And then also, what was the other thing? Oh, always be punctual. When someone says, we're meeting at 9 o'clock, I expect you to be there 10 to 9. If you are there 20 past 9 and you haven't let me know why you're late, because everyone's on a cell phone, everyone can let everyone know, then that's disrespect to me. Then I leave. I don't wait. So be punctual. The dress code is important. If you're going to a corporate meeting, you don't wear a low-cut dress or a thigh-high slit, or you don't do that, because the dress code is your image.
Yes.
And lastly, I think, I thought about this, it's about saying thank you to people who help you. I'm looking for tablecloths now for a big function next week, and I'm waiting to hear back from a friend of mine if she can loan me some tablecloths. If she can, obviously she gets a box of chocolates. You know, it just say thank you.
Gratitude.
SMS, WhatsApp, email, thank you. You know, those two words are not used enough right now.
Right. Thank you so much, Michelle, for joining us on Girl About Town. It was indeed an impactful and insightful conversation. We appreciate the work that you do in the industry as well. So we appreciate you and thank you so much.
Thank you.
Alrighty.